Hi, welcome. Today we're going to talk about why banks have stopped foreclosures. I think everyone's been watching in the news that Bank of America halted foreclosures. That was big news. I remember the day when our Bank of America rep called us and said, no more foreclosures. And of course, Christy and I are a foreclosure approved agent for Bank of America. So we were very interested to know why. But it really was no secret, was it?
No, absolutely not. The bottom line was the banks were using what they call robo-siders. That's a really confusing term. Everybody seems to think that a computer must have been involved.
I did think that.
Yeah, well, there was no computer involved. The banks had hired people. A lot of them were fresh out of college, people or fresh out of high school, and their job was to notarize that all the documents were in place, including the note, which is
Obviously, we're going to spend a little time talking about this note, so...
that everything was in place and that they had done all the notices, and apparently some of these people were approving up to 2,000 a day. So
That's
I don't know that
interesting.
I can do 2,000 of anything in one day.
No, I
Could you?
don't think I could read 2,000 emails, so...
No.
Yeah.
So to verify documentation of that magnitude and the checklist, it's probably 4 pages long of things that have to happen in order for the bank to foreclose on a property.
And that's another video in itself that we plan to put out next week to talk to you about the process of foreclosure. We have an attorney that we're going to interview, so you can look for that. But it is a big process, actually. So to get on to the note topic, about 2 years ago, Christy and I started working with short sales for the first time. And maybe it's about 2.5 now.
Probably.
When we did, we were fortunate enough to align ourselves with an attorney whose only job in the world is to sue mortgage companies, which is kind of a fun job, I think. I mean, they're, in many ways, she's helping a lot of people because in the beginning, if you remember when short sales first were hitting the market, the banks were very unreasonable and were never releasing people from liability. So since then, a lot of things have happened. The government has waived tax obligations for primary home owners until 2012, and you're going to want to check with your accountant to get that exact date because that is an important date. And they've also done some things to speed up foreclosures, which we covered in another video. But the one thing that they can't do, and that's an interesting one, is typically produce an original note. Now, I wanted to ask you, you have a good friend from college who you referred to our attorney.
Right.
And he was trying to do a loan modification. Can you
Right.
talk a little bit about what's happened with that since this is going on for 1.5 years now? So.
At least. Yeah, a friend of mine built his own home, and of course property values dropped, and he was simply trying to modify his mortgage. Not unwilling to pay the balance on his mortgage, he simply needs to cut his payments because it's unreasonable and he's not able to sustain them at this point. His mortgage company said no. He went to our attorney, and she has been extraordinarily helpful with him. He's very, very pleased, but they have not been able to find a note.
This is a problem because if the mortgage company cannot produce a note, then they don't have the right to foreclose. And if you've ever gotten a mortgage, you may have gone down to your local branch, say at Wachovia or any of the local banks, and you used their lender or you used a lender from your real estate agent or someone you knew, and then a month later you got a notice in the mail that your mortgage company has changed because most banks don't carry mortgages. So they sold it to some other mortgage company who probably packaged it with another 100 mortgages, and in a month you might have got another letter. So your mortgage could have changed 3 or 4 times.
Well, and you may not have gotten a letter, in fact, because if it's owned by the same company, they split these. Do you know that your house may be owned by up to 20 or 30 different investors?
I think that's wild.
It's how it is.
And when these people get to the point where they're foreclosing and they have to provide the clients with a note, the note is not available, the note then can't be produced, and theoretically the bank is not able to foreclose now.
Now what's happening, so we've been told, is some of these notes are being reproduced
Interesting.
in ways that may or may not be legal.
So, knowing that, and actually our attorney has several cases before federal court right now in the same magnitude, same issues. The note is unable to be produced by these mortgage companies. She's finding the same thing. The mortgage companies do not want this heard. And so in our experience, whenever we filed suit to produce the note, what happened?
Short sale was magically approved
It
within
was.
2 or 3 weeks.
It was, and I know people look at us like we're the heroes, but we really aren't. We simply are a facilitator to the attorney who's the actual hero. So what we found now is that the banks are not foreclosing at all. Isn't that what you're seeing?
Well, they've officially halted the foreclosures from the major banks in our state, and they probably will start foreclosing again. But I would predict that we're going to see short sales being approved at a much more rapid and a quicker rate. And what I would hope that would happen is the banks are going to reach out to people who are having issues and maybe offer them a short sale package, maybe offer them a loan modification, because it's certainly going to be a lot easier on the banks to get the owner to sign over title than it is going to be to produce a note that may not even exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think our next video, and I really want to touch on this, and it's sort of its own topic, is why would a bank rather foreclose than work with a short sale?
It's hard to understand.
It is, but we have a little insight to that. So I think that'll be our next video, so stay tuned for that. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.